Welcome to Mindful Live 168. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is a pleasure. It is the 12th of January 2023. We're moving swiftly along with the year. It is Thursday, and Thursday is Thursday Talks. We just come in here, we discuss. You can join the chat over there. You can join the chat over there on TikTok. You can join and actually speak to us, join the conversation and discuss the topics that we may be interested in. Nathan, your true line of work showing with that room, I am not sure what you mean by that, and I feel somehow I get an inkling like I may not want to find out really what you mean there. So yeah, I don't know exactly what you're talking about with that real line of work. My main line of work is teaching, and I'm glad that you reminded me of that. So, we'll talk about this in the earlies one time. As per usual, this Mindful Live is brought to you by Mindful Education, the education services that we run, offering learning pods, which are really and truly small classes, small group classes using homeschool style learning, homeschool style education, where we're aiming not at the classroom style teaching, but tweak on that to allow for more comfortable learning with students who are more familiar with their fellow students in the class, with their tutors, allow for faster pace, and as I said, more comfortable learning, more intuitive, aiming at it, mostly focusing in on those STEM subjects for the pod classes, but joining them into general education also. So if you are interested in that, you can head over to Mindful Education over there on Instagram and on Facebook. Follow us over there and get into contact. We also offer private tutoring, one-on-one tutoring classes for most CXC and CAPE subjects. So get in touch with us there. That room look like a casting room, sir. The only thing I'm casting in here is myself. That's the only thing casting in here, Mr. Chiny Douglas. That I just knew. I had my suspicion that was the line you were headed down. All right. Yeah, it's Thursday. What's in the news? What are you thinking about? What do you think about the Top G and the Matrix? Well, I saw that. I saw the arrest the Top G, as I saw someone said on Facebook, which is a cruel joke. They said Top G is now going to be Bottom G. And when you think about it, I also saw a commentary on that's just by the way. When you think about the fact that so many people are comfortable joking about male abuse in prisons, like when someone says something like Top G is going to be Bottom G in prison, we all know really and truly the connotation there. They're talking about males being forced, grape, as they say on YouTube to avoid some of the algorithms. So it's just kind of strange how comfortable everyone is about joking about males being raped. Like, this man is going to be forced into doing this thing that he doesn't want to do. So funny. And you think about it, it's kind of strange. And you never see that on the woman's side. People say that. I saw someone on Twitter trying to pontificate about it and say that it's really about how we don't take incarcerated bodies into consideration. And I don't think it's about incarcerated bodies, because people don't joke about women in prison being raped. That's not a joke people tell. It's only about men in prison, and really and truly, they don't just joke about men in prison, they joke about men anywhere being raped. It's more of a male thing, the way how unserious that whole male abuse is taken in the first place. But that's just by the way. On the whole topic of them arresting this one, Mr. Andrew Tate, I don't have much to say really and truly on that quite yet, because the evidence isn't in. He hasn't actually been charged with anything. There are some serious allegations. They're alleging that he was involved in trafficking people, which is a very serious allegation. But when you kind of read the evidence about it, it's a strange thing. Much of what he's being accused of is women who did things voluntarily, but may not have really signed up to do exactly as much as they did. So that's a kind of very difficult thing to try and figure out the line where it's at. And then when you're coming years after the fact, or a long while after the fact, people start to wonder what your motive is about in trying to bring this thing. And then some of those accusers aren't even trying to get him criminally charged, they're trying to get money from him. So, well, that's one woman said he did nothing. That woman was the woman in the United Kingdom, where they were alleging he abused her, and it was allegedly consensual according to the woman. But it's two women, I believe, in Romania that alleged he kidnapped them and held them against their will and all that kind of nonsense. I don't know. The thing is, when you read the news out of Romania, they haven't charged him yet. They don't, according to the judge, they don't yet have enough evidence to charge him for the crime and prosecute him yet. They have enough evidence to continue the investigation. So they are investigating it. Now, I don't know if the man is really a trafficker. I can't say that because I just don't know. But there obviously seems to be some problems with how this is being dealt with, especially compared to how many other things in the world are being dealt with. He isn't the only trafficker known to the world, yet so many people are caught up on this. There was this whole Jeffrey Epstein guy, I don't know how many of you remember that, who was running a literal trafficking island right out here in the Caribbean. And he was doing that for years, and many people weren't very interested in that. It's kind of strange. Recently, there was some recent news about this, during the time when I wasn't really making much videos recently. And I said, I have to make a video on this. Something very interesting came out of that. So, the island was within the territory of the U.S. Virgin Islands. And recently, the U.S. Virgin Islands Attorney General said that she was going to launch an investigation. The chief prosecutor in the U.S. Virgin Islands was going to launch an investigation into this whole Jeffrey Epstein business, get to the bottom of it. Then, interestingly enough, just at the same time when she announced she was going to start that investigation, the President of the United States, Mr. Joseph Robinette Biden, went on vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And strangely enough, soon after that, the U.S. Virgin Island chief prosecutor was fired. And that whole investigation into the Epstein Island business was swept under the rug again. Nobody knows anything about that. But then people are supposed to be convinced that all of these different agencies care so much about human trafficking. They want to get to the bottom of human trafficking. That's why they are following so closely on Andrew Tate's heels. You see, in reading and looking at a lot of global news, I think I regularly tell people this. Don't try to look at this with your childhood superhero Disney lens, where you're trying to find the good guy and the bad guy. Who is the hero and who is the villain in this story? That's not how you look at global news. Usually, in many of the cases, they're all villains all around. It's not a story telling the triumphant victory of the morally good hero over the morally repugnant villain. No, it's kind of all morally repugnant people working, and they're all villains, and sometimes even the bad guys seem to win. That's kind of the global news that you see, and I think it's important to look at it in that context. So that when you see someone attempt, so the US paints Russia in a horrible light over the invasion of Ukraine, you could look at it and say, yes, indeed, Russia might be wrong about some of what they're doing there, but that doesn't make the US the good guy. And they're doing all that they're doing in Ukraine just for the good of the freedom of people. Yeah, right. No, it's not that. So, what happened to the list with Ghislaine Maxwell? Nobody knows anything about that list. The Ghislaine Maxwell, which was the right-hand woman to Mr. Epstein, they all had a list, and the list has disappeared apparently. Xjin1 says, is it coincidence that they're going after Jordan Peterson at this time too. Well, really and truly, they've been going after Jordan Peterson for a long time. They haven't stopped at it. I saw an article, I think it was in the Telegraph or something like that, where they were speaking about the fact that many people complain about Andrew Tate, but when they were given the opportunity to allow young men to have someone to look up to like Jordan Peterson, who was, just a regular good guy out there, they frowned at that, they insulted him, and now you get someone like Andrew Tate. That's kind of how those things go. You leave the mild-mannered one who was perfect to put into that position, and then they choose someone who is a bit more vociferous. Nathan, and you post pictures from your visit to that island. If by that island you mean Tobago, I have posted many pictures of my visits to Tobago. That island. That island is Tobago. This is more of a political move with regards to Top G, it could seem so, but it's odd to think a trafficker would want so much fame and attention, especially with women. I do not think, personally, I do not know. If you're asking about what I think, I do not think that he attempts to make a global business of trafficking. Because that's not even the allegation. The allegation isn't really that he's running a global human trafficking empire. It's more of an allegation about two specific people that lived at his compound for some time. So, but the thing is, I think some of that shows the negatives of the side of the red pill that people like Andrew Tate talk about, the side of that manosphere of men's rights and men advice that they're talking about. That is the negative side. That side where they push the throwing away of monogamy. You're not monogamous here. You're the top G. You're allowed to, get as many women as you can. You've reached the top. You've succeeded. You have your 19 Bugattis or whatever else. But the problem right there that he is witnessing and that we're witnessing, the problem with that is it makes for complex living. And that's kind of a problem that I've always had with the manosphere. The insistence they have on going away from monogamy, encouraging men that, once you reach at the top, once you're making enough, once you're a high value man, then you're, as it will, you have the right to go and take as many women out there as possible. Now, in the dating market, that might be true, but in giving people sound advice, that is horrible advice, because this is often what's the end result of this is often what is the end result of going down that road. Jabari Sham says no great leader was monogamous, and I've heard Mr. Tate make that point too. I'm not sure I agree with that point because it's not necessarily fully true, but that's not necessarily a positive thing. Many great leaders, when you look at the lack of monogamy that they had, that lack of monogamy was exactly what led to a lot of their downfall. If you're looking at men who had some of the more peaceful lives, if you're looking at peaceful kingdoms, if you're looking through history, you're looking anthropologically, so you're looking at human cultures as they developed. You look at cultures that developed monogamy, and monogamy was always developed to tame male sexuality. Like, people who talk about polygamous cultures where there were women with multiple husbands, there were very few, if any, of those. That's not what was common. Polygamy almost all the time was men with multiple. And the reality is, yes, while that is the common thread throughout history, the reality is when it changed, it showed a huge boost in economics, a huge boost in the stability of cultures. So if you're trying to tell men how to create a stable culture, how to create a stable legacy, how to create a stable family group, then the advice would be monogamy. Promiscuity has never been glorified for any woman ever. Thank you. I can see that you are quoting Mr. Andrew Tate, and that's the very same thing I'm talking about. Yes, that is true. I am not denying that it's true. Promiscuity hasn't been glorified in women. Promiscuity among successful men has been something that has been allowed throughout many cultures. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm talking about the result of it. You can look at Mr. Andrew Tate and see what the result of it is. If he was a monogamous, chaste, one wife kind of guy, that kind of problem that he is in now, they wouldn't have been able to catch him with. The reality is that having multiple women around you in romantic and sexual relationships is inevitably going to lead to problems. Inevitably. That's just the reality. Now, if you are very wealthy, if you are very powerful, you may be able to negate many of those problems. True, but you can't make them disappear. People talk about Solomon in the Bible. Well, I urge you to read the Bible properly. The Bible speaks about Solomon having many wives. I think 1,000 when you combine wives and concubines. And in the end, the same Bible says his multiple wives led him away. Well, obviously, because you have so many, you can no longer stay on whatever track you wanted to stay on. Because every woman has a price. I would not say that, Jabari Chambers. I would not say that at all. I would say that every woman is interested in men being providers for the family that they must incubate. That makes sense. That doesn't mean that every woman has a price. Like, it's not an insult to women that they look for men who can provide for them. They're supposed to do that. That's their main interest. Well, I don't think it's their main interest, but it is a main interest. And understandably, you must understand that although people are now realizing the realities or getting to buckle down the realities of that whole human male to female interaction, these things have reasons. These things have reasons. So the price that you're talking about that a woman has, it's not that they have a price. It's not that women are so shallow. They're only looking at if the man can make money and that's all the women want. They're all gold diggers out there. No. And I find it so strange that so many men, some of the men that say these things are men who talk about traditional men. Are the ones that talk about traditional men and wanting to be traditional men. Well, then you have to understand what that is. It's a price nevertheless. No, it's not a price. It's not a price. It's not having a price. It's needing provision for the realities that they face. I was seeing an article recently that somehow just recently shockingly discovered that the reality that women must become mothers, they're the only one that can become mothers. It causes a kickback in women's careers. And obviously, if a woman is a mother, she can't devote as much time to her career. That's obvious. And then if you're a woman in that position, you know that the coming together in this relationship is going to cause me to not be able to provide as much physical resources as I could have, then obviously I'm going to be more interested in the resources the man can provide. It's the same thing like men being interested in a woman's attractiveness. Like, that's what the man wants the woman for. It's not, a man isn't shallow because he wants an attractive, youthful woman. That's not shallow. That's the male desire. They're saying mothers is a bad word now. Yeah, I saw that. Well, that's some of those days, I think those days are crazy. Some of those people are legit crazy. Men value purity, not attractiveness. That, listen, I would love to have a discussion with some of these manosphere people, because if you listen, and some of them are very correct, but if you listen, you have to have some tempered knowledge in that. Men value purity, not attractiveness. Like, sir, you don't believe that yourself. Nobody believes that, sir. Nobody believes that. A pure but unattractive woman would have real men saying, I wish I could have liked you in her. But they still wouldn't go with her. Like, don't gaslight the woman now. Do not gaslight the woman that it's all purity, no attractiveness. It's just all purity these men are looking for in these streets. Come on now, let's not gaslight the woman. Let's not gaslight the woman. I, I find that so insulting to gaslight the opposite sex like that. I saw a post where women were attempting to gaslight men too. A woman was saying she doesn't understand why men focus on traits that are so irrelevant. Men focus on themselves being too short and height, while they should be focusing on their emotional intelligence and becoming more emotionally intelligent. Jabari Chambers, you can jump in the live and talk. That is possible. But I saw that, and the women were talking about emotional intelligence. Like, if the man is emotionally intelligent, so many women would be drawn to this man. While we know there are tall men with zero emotional intelligence that get way more women than the short men that are so that are emotional geniuses out there. It's gaslighting. Don't tell people that that's what's going on and it's not true. Well, it's a combination of purity and beauty. That I can agree with. What I really mean is purity is the basis of attraction. Purity is primarily what a high value man sees as being attractive. That is not true. Look at Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos left his wife for his secretary or a worker from him. And she was not a virgin woman. She was not some pure, untouched 20-year-old unspoiled woman from the remote New Zealandish countryside. That's not what she was. Now, here's the thing. Men are interested in purity. That's true. That's true. But it's not the only basis for attractiveness. The basis for attractiveness between men and women has more to do with the assumption of fertility. The basis of attractiveness from female to male has much more to do with the perception of fertility. Men are attracted to symmetrical features because symmetrical features generally point towards sound health. They are attracted to shapely hips because shapely hips are what shows the difference between female and male. Men are attracted to women's bosoms for obvious reasons. Nearly everything that is the physical indicator of male attraction is a physical indicator of fertility. So men are attracted to fertility. When it comes to behavior, when it comes to attitude, yes, the attitudes that attract many men are attitudes along the lines of purity and more female natured attitudes. Yes, but no, purity isn't the basis for attraction. Well, men want women who are feminine. That's obvious. Nathan Mustache, pull your girl away. I don't know about that, sir. Jeff Bezos is not high value, so the thing I ought now say define high value. Okay. Well, you see, that's what you call the no real Scotsman or the no true Scotsman fallacy. It's like you're saying, well, no Trini. Let me give the famous one. No man does horn, or black men do horn. And then you show someone, a black man who is horning, and you're like, well, that's not a real black man. You understand? It's very difficult to try to pin down a discussion when it's difficult to define the terms like that. It's slippery. So by high value man, are you saying that a high value man is the kind of man that wants the kind of one you say a high value man should want? Then that's a very convenient definition. If you're saying high value, the origin of high value, when Mr. Kevin Samuels and they started speaking about this, the origin of the high value term had to do with the sexual marketplace or the dating marketplace, and someone having high value in the dating marketplace. So I could understand why in having respect among his fellow men, etc., he may not be as high in that. But put simply, Mr. Jeff Bezos does have high value in the dating marketplace. That's just reality. Now, he may not be what some people would consider an alpha male, and I understand that. But you could find alpha males and high value alpha males, etc., that do go with women who are not necessarily the most pure. Purity isn't the top priority. No, it's not. I think the majority of women would say he's high value. Yeah. High value is a corrupted term taken over by the red pill. He's tangibly high value. High value is more than money. It have plenty rich nerds who single forever. Yeah. But high value in the sexual marketplace generally means you're able to attract people. And Mr. Bezos is able to attract. He isn't one of those very wealthy nerds who is single forever. Evidently, he's not. So I that's some of the problems I have with a lot of this. So the problem with even the term high value is I understand what they're saying, but it's a very difficult term to buckle down, as we're seeing here. That high value may not just be based on money; it could be based on power and stature among the other men. So I've seen that definition to where high value is basically based on the level at which the men see him around. And okay, but still, it isn't based on financial status. I've listened to quite a bit of Mr. Kies. It's based on the value that they're talking about. High value. The value is related to a marketplace. The marketplace is the sexual marketplace or the dating marketplace. That's all it is. High value is high dating value, high sexual value. Respect makes a man high value competence. And you would say that Mr. Jeff Bezos doesn't have a lot of respect or doesn't have a high level of competence? Like, would you say that? The opposite gender set the value of each other. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I would say that by most standards, Mr. Bezos is relatively high value. And you see what he chose. And that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem with some of the things inside of even this whole manosphere, the red pill stuff. People aren't even 100% honest there. Some men in there, they're talking about the purity they want from women, which is a true thing. Many men do desire that level of purity, that level of, you're not out in the streets, etc. in women that they are attracted to. By and large, that is true, but it's not the only thing. And to make it seem like that's the only thing, many of the times, something that I don't like with some of the red pill movement is it seems like some of these men are making track for Gucci to run. They're making track for Gucci to run. If you're a trainee, you understand that. It looks like what they're saying is they're trying to create a reality around them to allow them to get the best of every world that they want. While I don't agree that's how this functions. They're basically saying at my high value I should be able to do as I please, multiple women, etc. But that's not the full truth of it. That's not giving people the full rundown of the male-female interaction. You're ending it at the negatives of some of the women in modern society, but not continuing on with some of the consequences that the advice that they're giving in this whole manosphere thing, not even giving the full conclusion of that advice too. High ranking, top ranking. So what is a high value woman to Alia? that is bacchanal you're looking for right there. High value woman. That's one that. Hey Roni, I saw you over there on YouTube. Yeah, high value woman is a strange one for many people to define. Now, you see, the reality is in the dating sexual marketplace, the reality is women don't actually have to be that kind of high value as men. That's just the reality. They don't have to be, because that's not how the system works. The value of the woman in the relationship sexual market context is intrinsic to her biology, meaning all she has to do is be a woman and grow up healthily. Your value is kind of intrinsic. That's where some of that is. The high value isn't the same. The way how that value, I mean, I wouldn't say it's unfair, Mr. Pulu. It's not unfair, it's just different. Like, some women may find it unfair that they are the ones who have to go through the difficult pains of childbearing. Is it unfair? If you had to exchange the physical difficulty of childbearing with the social expectation of production that you have to produce in order to provide for the family, which one is unfair? Because they want equal rights but can't bring half as much to the table. Well, you see, that's why I don't think we give fairness to the discussion about fair treatment when we think of things along the lines of equality, because it's not in that way. Beautiful woman, Aunt Ray. Child says, I consider myself high value and I can spot high value men easily, but yes, it's easier for women. Yeah. Now, the problem women have, this is a difficulty that women run into. A difficulty women run into is men have two strategies. Men have two strategies. Men have the short-term and the long-term mating strategy. And the short-term mating strategy of a man basically gives every single breathing human being who is female high value. The short-term mating strategy of a man, every female is high value. And if as a woman you get confused by the short-term strategy and take that as the value, you'd end up in trouble. While the long-term strategy of a man is really and truly just as picky as the long-term strategy of a woman. Who a woman wants for long-term, she's very picky about choosing. Who a man wants for long-term, he's very picky about choosing. The same on both sides. It's just that women, generally speaking, aren't very interested in the short-term strategies anyway. Because bear in mind, biological reality, there isn't really short-term sexually with a woman. If you're talking biological reality without the modern changes, if you're talking pregnancy with a woman, that's at least 9 months, and then you have this child for all the time after that 9 months. So as a woman, you're looking at that short-term just doesn't make sense. So the woman only has the long-term strategy, while the man has both the long-term and the short-term. And sometimes some modern women, I find, it seems like, get caught up in looking at the short-term strategy of men, and thinking that I am at a very high value because these men with their short-term strategy are running me down, while they will run basically any woman down in that short-term strategy. Good evening, Scafty. Which gives them value. We men have to become valuable, unfair but reality. As I said, like, you spoke previously about defining high value. In terms of this, we have to define what is fair. What do you consider fair? Is it fair that a lion is stronger than an antelope and the lion hunts antelopes and eats them? Is that fair? I think it is. I think fair has no place in that discussion because it's reality. It's not fair whether someone is taller or shorter. It's just reality. It's not fair that women are the sex that could bear children. It's just reality. I don't know how to frame that in the terms of fair and unfair. But women deserve a lot more respect, no matter physical appearance, social, financial status. Well, yeah, I guess. Lil Juice, we spoke about that a little earlier, It's unfair that dogs can fly. Exactly. Reality has no need to be fair. Not only reality has no need to be fair, I think even thinking about reality through the lens of fair and unfair is just unwise. It doesn't work. You are born into the family you are born into. Other people are born into the family they are born into. It doesn't make sense looking at that and saying, well, it's unfair that I was born where I was born and it's unfair that they were born where they were born. because it's reality. There's no overarching structure you can appeal to and say, well, this was unfair, so you have to rebalance it. So then, where's even the principle of fair in this? Fair comes from the idea that there's an ideal way for this situation to be. There's an ideal fair reality for this situation to be. So if you're dividing food between two children at the same age and give one person a bigger piece and one person a smaller piece, then fair assumes that they both should be getting the same sized piece. But where's that assumption in reality? Who assumes that women should live the same life that men live? That's an incorrect, asinine assumption, really and truly. So I don't see fair and unfair in that. I don't see fair and unfair in that. And so some of the men are talking about feminists. I think feminists and some of these men that labor about the fairness and unfairness of the reality of the gender differences, they're in the same boat to some extent. They're in the same boat to some extent. Like, I would advise men to stay clear of feminists if you're looking for a healthy partnership. But also, I would advise women. You see, you bounce up on a man who is 34 years old and spent the last 10 years facing rejection. He just suddenly became a little successful in work and stumbled upon this manosphere red pill business, and all of a sudden he has learned what a high value up man is. Run from that man too. Just how feminists have that victim mentality on the female side that would make it difficult as a man to stay in a relationship with them, some of these men have the same victim mentality on the male side that would make it very difficult to stay in a relationship with them. Listen, some of those men are scary men that you should run from. They have years of rejection behind them. They've now come on top and they're looking to get some vengeance on the world. They're looking to make things fair again. You're looking to make things fair again. And you see that kind of thing? You don't want to be on the end of finding out what they want to do to make things fair. Define feminism, well, therein lies the problem to me with the whole feminism business. Therein lies the problem defining feminism. Many people will say feminism is the pursuit of equality among the genders, which doesn't really make sense when you look at the reality of feminism. To me, the problem, a big problem, starts with the name in and of itself. If you're talking about making things equal between the genders, how are you going to name the thing after one of the genders? Like, if it was about equality of the genders, it would have been genderism or something like that. But to call it feminism and say it's about equalizing the genders, it seems like you're trying to play a trick on somebody. Yeah. And then when you see many of the propositions of many feminists, it wasn't all that pleasant. Egalitarianism, yes. And egalitarianism has always been a thing. It's not something new and a new late revelation. Egalitarianism has existed since the Greek days, treating everybody fairly regardless of who they are. A man and a woman will never be equal. Men do things women can't, and vice versa, of course. Fully agree there. That's why, to me, the discussions around gender roles always seemed like a strange thing. I found gender roles to be kind of obvious. Like, why? How are parents so evil? How are parents so evil to make their son do certain things and then make their daughters do certain things differently? Such an evil thing. And I'm thinking, like, that seems obvious to me. That seems kind of obvious. You have different people with different capabilities. Obviously, they specialize into different areas. Seems kind of obvious. That's why the current agenda is to distort identity completely. I don't disagree totally. I don't disagree. Gender roles are the only way. To me, I think it's obvious. I think many people who talk against gender roles are people who grew up in unhealthy families where they didn't see a healthy family dynamic. Listen, if you grew up in a healthy family and you had siblings, you had a father and a mother, gender roles are just obvious. Gender roles are just obvious because when they come home from the grocery, The father holds most of the groceries to carry it in because he's the stronger one. When the child is crying, the mother is the one generally that goes first because it just so happens that she has built-in food producers. Right? Obvious. Capitalist societies love to polarize the masses so they can market to them. Everything can be trended, gets amplified. I agree to some extent, but the reality is many of the people that are polarizing some of the ideologies in modern times aren't just capitalists. Many of them are socialists and communists. Many socialists and communists have a problem. They want to disintegrate the family. If you go back and read about the Hungarian socialists that came out of Eastern Europe, they spoke about disintegrating the nuclear family. I don't know how many of you paid attention with the Black Lives Matter business, and they said they were trained Marxists, and one of their goals was to deconstruct the nuclear family. And the reason they want to deconstruct the nuclear family is because communists believe that the state is above all. The state needs to manage everything. The problem is it's very difficult for the state to get ultimate authority when you have a family. A family is built with built-in authority. It already has a hierarchical system. The children born into a family take ultimate instructions from the family, not the state. Now, extended family isn't a breakdown of nuclear families either. The best functioning extended families are extended families of nuclear families. So there's a nuclear family here that extends into another nuclear family here, and another nuclear family there, and another nuclear family there. An extended set of nuclear families. And that way, if any family misses a bit of their nucleus, the other families with their sound nuclei are able to, counterbalance a bit. So yeah, extended families are the best, but even in extended families, it is building upon the nuclear structure. That's why they needed women and men working so hard they can raise their children. That is literally it, Wendell. And many people think of this as conspiratorial, but it isn't conspiratorial. You can go read up Hungarian communists and what they said about public education. That was literally what it was about. Taking the children out of the family structure so that the children aren't taught the backward values of the family and they are able to be liberated into the forward thinking of the state through the public education system. That they didn't hide that. That is literally what it was for. And then now, after years and decades of following this kind of thinking, we're surprised that so many family structures are breaking down. While that was kind of the intention of a lot of this. Send the family out into separate parts. Children don't spend much time with their parents, and then we're surprised when the children hate the culture of their parents. No surprise there, really and truly. None at all. All right, anything else there, folks? Thursday talks going nice. Anyone else with a comment or a question or something in the chat? Yeah. You know though, I don't like. Do you think men should get paternity leave? Yes, men should get paternity leave. I do not think. Let me make this clear though. I do not think men should get the same amount of paternity leave as women. Because we don't do the same things. I am not a believer in man and woman are the same. I don't believe they are the same. I believe they are different. I believe they should be treated different. So, yes, give men paternity leave, allow men to go and help out and be more involved in child rearing. But Not the same amount. What men need paternity leave for? Well, here's the thing. I Jabari, I find that comment sounds familiar to a series of an interview I saw Akon did. Thank you, Adishram Ryan. Much appreciated. That reminds me of an interview Akon did, where he was asked about the what's this guy Nick Cannon. He was asked about the Nick Cannon and having children outside there and with so many different women, so many children, and he was like, that's no problem. Why? What? And they said that you wouldn't be able to go rehearsals, you wouldn't be able to go each thing for the children. And he said that what do you need to go rehearsals and shows for? That's white people stuff. That is white people thing. You don't need to do that as a man. And that's the problem right there. That's not white people thing. That's fathering. And the reason so many people have daddy issues while they have daddies are because so many daddies think that daddies don't have a part to play. Paternity leave is so that, one, when the woman that you made the child with is in the most vulnerable time and weak, you are able to help out with the child also. Paternity leave is so that you are able to bond with your child during those young years also. It's the vulnerable time. Like, to me, I would think, if you ask men, would you like the opportunity to spend your child's first week of living with the child and your child's mother, your wife, ideally? I think most men would say yes. Like, I don't fully understand why we would disagree with that. Men do get paternity leave in Trinidad. It's some men, in some fields. It's how we play the part. Not saying we don't have a part to play. Listen, I find many men in Trinidad have an old Creole way of parenting. And old Creole isn't race. Bear in mind, Creole means created in the Caribbean for the most part. Simply means created in the Caribbean. I despise the old Creole parenting, where a father is a provider, but he never hugs the children. He never kisses the children. The children have no kind of emotional connection or relationship with him. They know that's their father. They know this strange man sleeps in the same house with them, but they're afraid to even have a conversation with him. You look at some people go to talk to their father, and the father, they're a big person. They're in their 30s now, and they're uncomfortable around their father. They don't know how to physically touch their father. It's strange for them to touch him on his hand because his whole life he never was on this hug up thing. They saying man is here to provide him. He here for all this hug up and love up and thing. No. You believe in that tough love crap, Aisha Springer says. Here's the thing, Aisha. I believe in tough love, but I don't believe in only tough love. Men have a different role to play. Men do have a role of more consistent discipline. Men do have a role to play. That role is of consistent discipline. But inconsistent discipline, that isn't a lack of mercy, a lack of softness, a lack of empathy, a lack of emotion towards your children. So I think, yes, there is the room for that masculine tough love. It's necessary. There's a difference between how men and women do discipline, and I think that's something necessary. But it's not tough love doesn't have to be emotionally distant. It's a cycle in the black community, especially. Well, Chell, bear in mind, in the black community is said to be a matriarchy to a large extent. If you're talking the black Western community, a lot of the black community could be viably considered a matriarchy. That many of the households are run by the mother. Tough love is necessary, especially in this day and age when they brainwashing young boys to be more like women. I agree. I don't disagree. Tough love isn't only necessary for young men. Tough love is also necessary to some extent, even for your daughters and all of that. Yes, yes, yes. I don't disagree. But again, probably in defining terms, I don't think tough love means that you're means that you're emotionally distant. There's a difference between tough love and being emotionally distant. And many men think that if you're stoic, if you're a disciplinarian, that you cannot be able to display emotions healthily. And I 100% disagree with that. I 100% disagree with that. Like, sir, go hug your children some more. If you aren't hugging them enough, go hug them some more. There are literal physical reactions that happen with physical touch between parent and child. Like, so go hug up your child a little bit. Get close with them. Let them be comfortable with embracing you some. Like, you're not a snake. You're not a rooster. We parent as human beings. The entire agenda is to make men more like women and vice versa. That's the agenda we come. Kinda maybe. Some of the agenda is just to disrupt society, and they don't hide that. They want to recreate some of society. It has nothing to do with feminism or equality. Okay, Tate. We see you with the haram. We see you with the haram, Mr. Tate. Mr. Tate inside of the chat here. But that's it's the human problem to me. The balance where we see, okay, there's a problem where, yes, some people seem to be trying to push men to be too feminized, and I don't agree with that. But at the same time, there has been a problem with some men being too emotionally distant, not being sensible enough when it comes to emotion and feeling. Adish Ramnarayan says, ever see those same men who do that no softness parenting get a grandchild? Is all hugs and kisses. Yes, it is. That that's part of the importance of children in a society. Children keep society soft. That's the reality. So, like, some of those old sour people, they need a grandchild who isn't going to care about your sourness. The grandchild going to run up on you and jump on you and kiss you with the dribbly mouth. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, a baby is going to sit in your hand, look at you, smile, and poop themselves. It's only so serious a society could be with things like that. It's only so serious a society could be with things like that. Do you have to raise your children tough so you can spoil your grandchildren? Well, I've seen that if you fail to raise your children, then you'll raise your grandchildren. I've seen that. But yeah, children help to keep our society soft. They help to soften things. That's an important part of having children around. I like many of the times people in weddings, some of the weddings say no children allowed. I actually don't like that. I kind of like the idea of children in the wedding. Like, children involved in nearly everything in society. It helps to keep the society soft and keep people less serious. I don't know how many of you know the story of the emperor's new clothes, where an emperor in some faraway land he got some new tailor to sew a special outfit for him made from invisible thread. The outfit was some resplendent outfit made of invisible thread. And the long and the short of the story, I think it was only a child was able to say, but Emperor, you're naked. And that's, I think, the beauty of children in society. They add that soft honesty. You can't, it's very difficult to be as a child. It's very easy and very difficult at the same time. They will believe anything, but they're very upfront with their questions too. So children are a beautiful part of society. Exchange says, do you think that homosexuality is normal in humans since it's being observed in animals? It's according to what you mean normal. That mic not working, Jasmine RS says. If you're talking about my mic, the mic isn't for the mic isn't for the live stream on TikTok or Instagram. I stream live also on YouTube. You can head over to my YouTube channel, Nathan Spring, over there on YouTube, and that's what the mic is for. You will see me talking over there also. When I'm speaking about articles or studies, you are able also to see the studies behind me. There are other videos also there, so you can head over to Nathan Springer on YouTube and subscribe. Now, yes, the reality of normal, it's according to what you consider normal, because normal is irrelevant to right or wrong. I think many of the arguments people have, the people who have arguments against homosexuality, they're really talking about whether it's right or wrong, because murder is normal. Animals kill each other. Murder is normal. But yet still we consider murder as being wrong. So if you're talking normal, yes, I think homosexuality is normal, as in it's something within the realm of human behavior that is relatively common. So yes, I would consider it normal. So I am not saying these two are the same, but just so we know, pedophilia among human populations is relatively normal too. Just so we know. So normal isn't really the determining factor for if we should be okay or not okay with something. I'm not 100% sure, to be very honest. I'm not 100% sure about whether someone is born that way, whether it's 100% socialized. I think there could be genetic factors, genetic predispositions. Again, that's irrelevant to all of it, because I think it could be possible that genetically some people could have higher libidos, lower libidos. Libido meaning your appetite for sexuality, and that might have something to do with it. So there may be a genetic factor, but there are definitely sociological factors. Any study that is being honest on it, there are some sociological factors involved. If it's biological, should it be accepted? Again, biological is in the realm of normal. It's biological that men are more aggressive than women. Men are naturally, biologically more aggressive than women. But men make up the majority of the prisons. We are naturally more violent, but it's not accepted. It's not accepted. The increased violence of males is not accepted in society. And no, males are not more aggressive due to societal factors. Males are more aggressive due to testosterone. If you give a female testosterone to a certain level, she becomes more aggressive too. So it's biological factors. We're naturally more aggressive. But a male who isn't able to control his aggression, which is natural, is punished for it, although it's biological. So biological, normal, all of these things are irrelevant to the point of right or wrong. Now, I've seen some change in the... Oh, okay. Gotcha. I've seen some change in the view of the LGBTQ community over time. I remember when Born This Way was the main thing. That was the song. There was a song, is it Lady Gaga, I believe, sang the song Born This Way. That was a hashtag. That was, as it were, a slogan for the movement. Born This Way, so you cannot be angry with someone for something that they were born that way doing. But then, when the T in the LGBT, the T came about, they came about basically saying that there's nothing like really biological male or female. All of these things are societally groomed. Someone is groomed societally to be in the gender, of female or male. But if someone is groomed societally to be female or male, then how could you be born being attracted to something that is societally groomed? You're understanding? It becomes a self-defeating logical conundrum. If you're born this way, you're born being attracted to male or female, then the assumption would have to be that you're born either male or female. If you're born being attracted to one or the other, then you'd have to be born one or the other, and you would not be able to change it. But then, if you're saying that actually it's all socially constructed, then you can't say that you're born that way. Then you're socially groomed into being attracted to something that is socially constructed. Those two can't both go together. Jabari Chambers says that's why they ought to channel aggression in upcoming men, not have them be more like women. Aggression is healthy when it is channeled correctly. It's what creates healthy masculinity, because a man is good at being masculine as a woman is good at being feminine. I agree with that. Yes, it should be channeled. 100%. A problem we are suffering right now in society is that the school system does not know what to do with young masculinity. The school system, the public school system, is a system created that really and truly flourishes on typical feminine behavior. Good is subjective, is it not? Maybe. It's according to whether you believe that there's subjective morality or objective morality. Do you believe that there is good that encompasses everything? Do you believe it's wrong to murder whether the people around you find it's okay or not? Or do you believe it's wrong to murder dependent on whether the people around you think it's wrong or not? Do you think it's wrong for a grown man to force himself upon a woman whether the people around him believe it's okay or not? Or do you believe it's dependent on what the people around him see? So, personally, I'm someone who believes in objective morality. I don't believe that morality is subjective. I believe that there is a finality in good and bad. There are some things that are objectively good and some things are objectively bad. Now, I believe that in societies, we can deem things as being objectively good or as being subjectively good or subjectively bad. But in overall, whether a society deems it so or not, I believe there is good and bad in those things. But yes, part of the problem is we have a society, a schooling system that is engineered that works best with the young female behavior. They're able to sit quieter for longer periods of time. Young boys are naturally more hyperactive. The boy doesn't have trouble concentrating. The boy is a boy. Boys will be boys. I know in modern times people seem to kind of dislike that statement, but that statement was created for a reason. It helped explain certain things to people. Okay, you find this little boy is hyperactive, running up and down, and you think something is wrong with him. Well, the older tanties around would let you know, no, nothing is wrong with the boy, girl. The boys will be boys. And we have a school system that kind of doesn't allow boys to be boys. Do you think that is why girls do better in school? For the most part, yes, it is. Because the system is engineered towards girls. The system helps girls. Listen. Girls, I had female cousins, girl cousins, who would come home from school and pull out a blackboard and play school home. They would play teacher and student, and they would sit down in class, home, playing the day in school after spending the day in school. I have to say this in Trini language. It ain't no boy that go and do that. No boy leaving school to come back home and play school again. They're just different. And if you put them in environments, if you put them in the same environment and then judge them based on their ability to sit still and soak in information, then obviously the boys are going to have a harder time at that. And then, not in Trinidad as much, I don't think in Trinidad we do it as much, but in some of the more developed countries, what they're doing is when the boys reach into school and they're hyperactive because they're boys and boys have more of that energy bubbling under the surface, they drug them. Something is wrong with this boy. He has ADHD, he has ADD. We're going to drug him. So we're going to drug him to make sure he's calm. You know why? Because if a boy plays school, they would want to call him girlish. Yes, that's true, but understand this. If a boy plays school, they would want to call him girlish because mostly girls play school. It's like if a girl wants to play fight, they would call her boyish because mostly boys want to play fight. There are some practices that are more common among boys and among girls. The guy who came up with the idea of gender, which was an evil, abusive rapist of a pedophile, John Money, who assaulted twins and attempted to grow up one of the twin boys, attempted to grow up one as a girl. They found out very swiftly that you could attempt to grow them up how you want to attempt to grow them up. They are born boy or girl. And the habits they have are not just formed based on socializing, they are formed based on their genetic makeup. Charles says, I love masculine men, but the cause of feminization is not conditional, it's chemical hormonal. In men, I would say it is conditional, but conditions can cause chemical and hormonal changes. Adish Ramnayan says, then can it be said that the system is just pushing out ill-equipped men to succeed in society? Yes, it can be said that. And isn't it what we're seeing out there? But here's a truth, Chell. Here's a truth. The testosterone levels in men have dropped some 80% or something like that over the last 30 to 40 years. The actual hormone in men that makes men more masculine is decreasing. What would cause that? What would cause that? I've seen some people assume that or suggest that it might be the plastics, the thalidomides or something inside of the plastics. The plastics have a part to play. I don't doubt that. I believe the plastics have a part to play. I also believe that the nature of how we are training boys to be men has a part to play in it. Because testosterone levels depend on your activity. What you do, how much you do of what you do has to do with your testosterone levels. So if a man shrivels up, acts feminine, lays in a corner, he is going to actually produce less testosterone. If a man starts acting more manly, he's going to produce more testosterone. If a man goes and take a sweat, if you have a boyfriend, a husband, and every evening he have to go out with the fellas and take a sweat, what he is doing there is ensuring his testosterone levels stay up. So they are just that's one of the prime examples. So men who go and take a sweat, that's nearly like he's going and getting some therapy done out there, some physical therapy that literally has an effect on his health, not only in terms of his stamina and fitness and physique as it would, but in terms of his hormonal health too. Men are designed to be that kind of active creatures. That's why gender roles again make sense, because there are differences in the design of males and females. Jabari, you really like Andrew Tate in these comments here. I'm reading what you're saying and just seeing Tate videos for like every statement you make there. Like Tanti and Uncle say, boy these. Yes, Adish Ramnarine, boy. You know, let this be another one of the calls that I regularly make to big up the tanties and the uncles, and hold them in higher light and hold them in higher regard. So many of us think that, you know, the older people don't know what they're saying, they're just talking and talking because they have a mouth. But some of what they said came from eons of understanding. Maybe they didn't have the intricate knowledge to break down the understanding into the scientific nature of why it works, but they knew it worked. They understood the practical realities of life a little better, I think. All right, people. That has been the Thursday talks. It's been nice. We're closing in on 11. Any further comments or questions quickly before we dive out? Because that's all I have for now. Male exercise during puberty affects baseline levels of testosterone for a lifetime. Correct, curve on. That's why if you have a boy child, put him in some sports. Do not grow up your boy like a girl. And you see, the old people would say things like that. Young people would get offended. Are you talking about gender roles? Are you being bigoted? Girls can do sports too. And you're not understanding the old people are giving you advice on how to grow up a well-rounded, well-stabilized man. The problem is, these feminized young men don't have control of their emotions. You do not want a man who does not have a control of his emotions. Plenty of women are talking like, you know, you want that man to show his emotions more openly. Actually, no. You want a man to have control of that emotion more. You do not want those emotional men out there. Emotional men are the young men that shoot up schools. Emotional men are the young men that are compulsively murdering people for petty reasons out there. Listen, this rhythm is a vibe though, eh? I have to go out on this rhythm, it's a vibe. Alright folks, it was nice. GNNF, I see you now join, man. It's late. You join real late. But it was nice, people. Thursday talks. Thank you for being here. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Live. I will see you again for the next Mindful Live. I will see you again for the next Mindful Live tomorrow around 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. is around where I start. I will see you guys then. Extreme says that 1 hour thing is not enough. Sir, I could go for 3 hours. I don't mind. But we'd have to be making more money to do that right at this moment. Laters, people. Have a good one. It was nice. Have a good one over there on Instagram. Peace. DC, don't fight me.